Hey there guys, I'm Thiago and I'm back for another video, right? And in this video class, we're gonna talk a little bit about the reported speech, okay? It's a very important topic because it involves many different verb tenses and it's an excellent way to practice your English speaking skills, all right? So take a look at the video. So my friends, as I said, today we'll talk about the reported speech, okay? Before I explain how it works, let me give you some examples and then I think you'll be able to visualize it better, right? So first, let's talk about, before we talk about the reported speech, let's talk a little bit about the direct speech, okay? I have some examples for you. Let's take a look at them. First one, she said, I'm in California. Attention to how we form the phrase, okay? To the way the sentence is formed. We have there. She said, I'm in California. Or, I'm visiting my family, he said, okay? So, when I have these two cases, yes, when I use colon or quotation marks, I am using the exact words that the person used, okay? But then when I change into the reported speech, it's a little different. So let's take a look how it goes. The first one, she said, I'm in California. I can change into, she said that she was in California, or she said she was in California. Notice that the use of the pronoun that is optional, okay? It's not necessary. It's not necessary. But as I said, it's optional. You can choose whether to use it or not, okay? And then for the other sentence, I have the reported speech, which is, he said that he was visiting his family. He said that he was visiting his family. Or, he said he was visiting his family. So, in both cases, you can notice that the pronoun that is optional, okay? Besides that, there are other changes that are necessary in the sentence. So, let's take a look at what we change. In the first sentence, she said, I'm in California. When I change it to the direct speech, I said, she said that she was in California. Notice that the verb be is in the past now, okay? And instead of using the pronoun, the subject pronoun, I am using the pronoun she, okay? In the second case, instead of using I use he, okay? Which is the case here, right? So let me talk a little bit more about the reported speech, but now I'm going to talk about two verbs that we normally use to report speeches, okay? So the two verbs are say and tell, okay? So let's take a look at the examples we have with them. First one, Joan said, I'm in trouble. Or, I will have a meeting, he said. When I change that into the reported speech, I can use the verbs say or tell, okay? But there is a difference. Every time I use the verb tell, I have to change something. So let's take a look at the examples I have in the reported speech. Joan told me that she was in trouble. Joan told me that she was in trouble. So in this case, I'm not using the verb say anymore. I'm using the verb tell. So when I use the verb tell, it's necessary that I use an object pronoun, in this case, me. So Joan told me, because when you tell somebody something, okay? So you tell me something, you tell her something. So when Joan told me, she was in trouble. Or he told her that he would have a meeting, okay? He told her he would have a meeting, all right? As I said, that once again is optional. It's not a necessity to use it, okay? So let's move on. Now I'm gonna keep talking about the reported speech, but now I'll talk more specifically about questions, okay? More specifically, yes or no questions, okay? So let's take a look at the examples I have here for you. The first one is in the direct speech. Let's take a look. Are you from New York? He asked. All right, how do I change that from the direct speech into the reported speech? So it goes like this. He asked me if I was from New York. So notice that in yes or no questions, when I report, it's necessary to use the verb ask, okay, normally in the past, and the verb, it's also necessary to use if, okay? I use if to every time I report a question, okay, a yes or no question. Let's take a look at another example I have here for you. Does she like chocolate? They asked. They asked me if she liked chocolate, okay? So once again, I'm using if. Why do I use if? Because I am reporting, a yes or no question, okay? So that's the basic difference. But let's move on, because now I'll keep talking about questions, but I'll be more specific and talk about WH questions, okay? Let's take a look at the examples I have here for you. Where is Michael? He asked. And then how do I change that into the reported speech? Let's take a look. He asked me where Michael was. So pay attention to the position of the verb, okay? Every time I report a question, I have to pay attention to the position of the verb. He asked me where Michael was. And in this case, I'm not using if anymore, because this is not a yes or no question. This is a WH question. For WH questions, I'm gonna use the WH question of the original sentence, okay? Okay, so as I move, I'm gonna give you another example. Let's take a look at the other one. What did you do today? Mary asked. Now, think about it. You can even pause the video for a second and try to change that into the reported speech yourself before you see here, okay? Do it now. Well, I don't know if you paused it, but anyways, the answer for this question, the reported speech in this case would be, Mary asked me what I had done that day. So you notice that in the original question, I use what. So in the reported speech, I'm going to use what too, the same WH question, okay? So now, you also, besides the WH question, have also to pay attention to the verb tense, okay? Because when I say what did is simple past. So when I report the simple past, I change from the simple past into the past perfect, as I have in the reported speech. That's why the sentence is, Mary asked me what I had done that day, okay? So, guys, for you to understand a little better what to use, what verb form to use, or I'm sorry, what verb tense to use in which situation, let me give you some examples. I have here a board with some verb tenses, different verb tenses you can use when you report a speech, okay? So every time I have in the direct speech the simple present, every time I use the simple present in the direct speech, when I change that into the reported speech, it goes from the simple present to the simple past, okay? So, for example, every time I make a sentence like, I love that movie, when I report the sentence is going to be, Thiago said that he loved that movie, okay? So moving on, for example, if I use the simple past or the present perfect in the direct speech, I'm going to change into the past perfect for the reported speech, right? And for example, if I use the present continuous for the direct speech, I'm gonna change it into the past continuous. If I use can, I'm gonna change into could. If I use will, I'm gonna change into would, and so on. Okay. So now, after I talk to you about these different verb tenses you're gonna have to use and pay attention to when you make reported speeches, I'm gonna talk a little bit to you about the time expressions we must use. Okay. So for example, in reported speech, every time you have today for the direct speech, you're going to change into that day. Tomorrow for the day after or the next day. Yesterday for the day before. Okay? Next week for the week after. And last month for the month before. The next year for the year after. Okay? Next week, the week after, last month, the month before, and so on, okay? So guys, I'm sorry, last month for the month before, okay? So guys, as I said, this is basically it for the reported speech, okay? I hope I have helped you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, okay? There are many other interesting videos for you to watch, right? I hope you guys like it, okay? And there will be news, okay? We have some news for you, okay? So stay tuned and you're gonna see some very interesting things in our channel, okay? It's been a pleasure being with you again, okay? I'll see you guys. Bye-bye. Take care.